Tzaddik is like a hey, then you have the last two letters, Hashem's name. So we're telling a kid to connect to the God, Mitzvah, not just to the mitzvah.
So בר זה חוץ
בר זה גם חוץ וגם זה מאכלים. כשאומרים לבן, כשאתה מתעסק במאכלים, בבר, גם כשאתה לא עושה מצווה, אתה עוסק בעניינים של חול, או ריסס, משחקים, או אוכלים, זה לא, אז הרמז שמשתמשים בבר, לא בבן, כדי להגיד לו עוד מסאג'. שצריכים לזכור...
זה בארמית? זה בארמית?
בר זה ארמית, אבל גם בעברית יש משמעות של...
כן, אתה יודע מה זה בר בעברית? אתה יודע מה זה בר בעברית?
בר זה מאכל, תפורה.
לא, נראה לי לקחו את זה משם, אבל זה קלאב בעברית.
Okay, that's already modern Hebrew.
כן.
There's no clubs in Lashon Kodesh. I don't have clubs.
לא, אבל זה ברים, זה כאילו...
אני מבין.
כן.
So the question he asked me is, how come a bas mitzvah? What about a girl? Bas mitzvah. So the mitzvah is there. What about the food? What about remembering Hashem even when girls need that? So women don't need that because women don't wear yarmulkes. They don't need to wear yarmulke because they don't need to be reminded there's a God over them. A woman has a feminine aspect, is someone who can feel Hashem even in the kitchen. Ask my wife, she'll tell you the same thing. You know, when you're going to get married, you're going to ask your husband, why do you have to go to Fabrengen? Why can't you Fabrengen with me? And he's going to look at you, what? Fabrengen, you have to go out. You can't Fabrengen in the home. It's just, she doesn't understand. Why can't you find a lakus even in the home? Look at the beautiful house. Look at the kitchen. Look at the walls. Look at everything. Don't need to seek God outside. Men are always looking to go away, to run away. They're connected. That's why a man can't stay home for too long. He's always have to run and do things, accomplish things. Women usually know how to nurture what they've already accomplished. A man gets older, they go crazy. That's why when a man goes old, he depreciates very fast. His value based on age goes down very, very quickly. A woman's depreciation is much slower because she knows how to deal with her old age. An old man is a real pest in the house. An old woman takes care, slowly maybe, but she knows how to take care of things. But men don't know how to sit in one place. They're not comfortable in sitting back and just receiving what you did. They have to go out and make things happen, accomplish things. Men also feel they need to be validated. I'm telling you this. You know what validated means? How do you say validated in Hebrew?
No.
No. They need to feel like they're worth. She actually have shavi, that they have some worth, value. Because men normally, a man was created from where? From the earth. Earth is nothing. When you tell me you're an idiot, you're worth nothing, he believes you, and it bothers him. Men need to be constantly. So, for example, if his wife works and he doesn't not work, he feels bad enough as it is. He's trying to fix a light bulb in the house, and his wife says, "I'll take care of it." You just destroyed him. One thing that he's accomplishing, he's fixing a light bulb, and you're saying, "No, I can do it." Then what good am I? As man asleep. I'm worth nothing. When a woman is told you're worth nothing, she goes, "Why are you saying that?" No, I'm not. It's true, very true. I mean, it doesn't have all women, all men, but it's a woman thing. Then I asked you once, you remember when I asked you the question, where would you feel more hurt, more resentful? Ma כואב יותר. ואני אומר לך, את גנב, you're a thief. You stole, I just privately, no one else is going to know our conversations, mamish prati. And I accuse you of something you didn't do, something wrong, shameful that you did not do, or you did do it. And I'm accusing you for something you did do that nobody knows about except for you. Now it's me. Where would you feel more hurt? If you're a woman or if you're a man, huh?
Oh, if you're a woman.
Men will answer when it. Huh?
Well, then what she did.
Because women are connected to the truth. How dare you lie and say, what are you crazy? You're hurtful. If it's true, she might start crying, realizing that she must better her ways. If you ask a man needs an ego. You mess up with his ego. If it's not true, you're crazy, you're an idiot. I don't care what you say, you're making up lies, that doesn't bother me. But if it is true, how dare you know my faults? Bad enough I know my faults. You have to also know my faults. Remember.
לא, I feel that I'm like cement.
In this day and age, there's a lot of problems. Yeah. It's always his kalalut. There's some men that have feminine aspects and women have. Depends, and also depends on the level. Sometimes depends, whatever. Depends on what he's accusing of. Okay. So last week, oh no, I made the wrong. What should you do over here? Why did you make it so small? What's going on here? I didn't give her this. Can't even read it. Ridiculous. Right. I don't know why she did a small one. You want to pass it down? This is not what I gave her. Okay, so we're talking about last week. Not everyone was here. Okay, I'll just go over quickly what we did last week. We mentioned that there's an opinion in Gemara, Rabbi Yehuda. We can even see the too small. Rabbi Yehuda had mentioned something in continuation to the Mishnah. The Mishnah had said you're not allowed to stand by an item that you're not thinking of buying because you don't have the money and you don't even want to buy it. You just want to mislead the person, the owner of the store, that you're interested in it, and that's forbidden. That's called verbal harassment. If you say, "What's the price?" and he tells you the price, and you say, "Thank you," and you walk away. The Brisa adds, Rabbi Yehuda adds, that even if you don't say anything, you just stand by the item, indicating you want to buy it without saying a word, it's also forbidden. So Rabbi Yehuda might be arguing with a Mishnah. He might be extending the prohibition of verbal harassment even without saying a thing, that we discussed last week. He also discussed, possibly he wants to add, that even if you want to buy the item, but you don't have the money for it right now, but in the future you plan to buy it, you want to know the price right now, achshav ein li kesef, aber ani rotzeh ma'od. Is that also a problem? If you're not going to buy it now, but maybe later? So Rabbi Yehuda says that's also a problem. If you don't have the money, don't ask for the price, or don't even stand by. So there's two ways of explaining what Rabbi Yehuda is adding. Either he's adding that even if you don't ask, you don't verbalize, you just simply stand by, or he's adding that even if you plan to buy it, if you would have money, you want to buy it, just don't have the funds, it's still forbidden. Then we discussed the whole idea of embarrassing someone in public. Called a person who embarrasses someone in public does not have a chelik in olam haba. Pretty powerful statement. No, before that, we also came across what's worse, stealing from somebody, defrauding someone monetarily, money, mamon, hanoat mamon, or defrauding, hurting a person by insulting a person, harassing a person, chastising a person, which is worse. And the Gemara gave 3 reasons why verbal harassment is worse than monetary harassment. What are the 3 reasons? Number 1, money you can always give back. You can't give back the hurt. Even if you ask mechila, you hurt the person, that will always remain. The pain remains. Number 2, when it comes to verbal harassment, it says fear God. Because only Hashem really knows what your thoughts are. A person could say, well, I wasn't trying to hurt you. I really meant to buy it. Then something happened. I wasn't trying to harass you. Hashem knows. So you're not afraid of Hashem. You're afraid of people. So you make up a story, but you're not afraid of Hashem. So therefore, that's worse. When you steal, shows you're not afraid of anybody. You're not afraid of Hashem or people. But when you harass someone and you say, I didn't mean, no one knows what you meant, except for Hashem. Or another explanation as to why harassing somebody is worse than stealing, in a way, because it says when a person harasses somebody, Hashem himself punishes the person, doesn't send any shluchim. When he sends his malachim, that could take time, and maybe not as severe. When Hashem punishes, you're starting up. It's a big problem. You don't want to do that.
Hashem is punishing the person that was harassed, or that harassed the other. Who's Hashem punishing?
The person who harassed.
Oh, wow.
The harasser, the person who harassed someone else, the one who hurt somebody. Hashem will say, I will listen to the other person's cries and tears, because the gates of tears are never shut. Even after the Churban Beis Hamikdash, it says the gates of prayer have been shut. It's very hard to get your answer. No, we daven, we don't always get answered, like we did when we had the Beis Hamikdash. After the Churban Beis Hamikdash, the Sharei Shamayim, the gates of heaven have been closed. One gate is open, or it's actually two gates, but it's one gate related. People that cry and shed tears when they're bothered by something, those tears open up even after the Churban, open up the gates. Those gates are open. Hashem opens the gate and listens to the person who's crying, pouring his heart out and crying. Tears are very powerful. Hashem also considers tears powerful. There's a lot of stories about that. Ona, harassing somebody, says that also. Hashem opens up the gates to listen to the person's cries. And that means the other person who did it, the person who harassed you, is in big trouble. And the Gemara gives another explanation as to why harassing someone verbally could even be worse.
But if someone hurts you and you back, אם מישהו פוגע בך.
Good question. How about if someone harassed you? Can you harass that person back? Is that what you're asking? Good question.
Because it's not easy sometimes, like
Yeah.
someone
So
like,
it does say that according to some poskim, it says that if someone harassed you, that person may be harassed back. I wouldn't consider it to be the right thing to do, because it's like taking revenge. But you're not violating. You're not zelo atalo over al ha'isur shel onat dvarim im mishu acher
פגע בך.
כך. I would still not do it, because it's another problem of taking the kama. It's a gam baya. Now, what about if a person? Okay, so we got last week. Let me just go through it quickly. We learned about not embarrassing a person in public. And we learned that it's equal to murder. Why is it equal to murder? The Kamori Sicha Lama. Person's face, blood moves from the face and it turns white. You're spilling blood. And the Israeli rabbis say, we know one thing we're really careful about, not so much in Babel, the Babylonian scholars, we're very, very careful not to hurt someone's feelings. גאונים, רבנים של ארץ ישראל, כך אמרו. Then the Gemara says that how bad is embarrassing a person in public on a regular basis. You get used to it, you lose your olam haba if you don't do tshuva. And it's worse than fooling around with worse than adultery, worse than a man marrying, fooling around with a woman who's married. Adultery, as bad as that is. Because adultery, as bad as that is, a person will not lose the olam haba. So we asked last week, wait a second, the Gemara just says a few lines before that a person who commits adultery are one of the three people that never leaves Gehenna. How do you reconcile? In one place it says that adultery without tshuva will take away the person's olam haba. In another place it says it will not. How do you explain the two? So one answer is, it depends if they had children or not. If a mamzer was born, an illegitimate child was born because of the adulterous relationship, then forget about it. Without tshuva, that is. Tshuva always helps. Without tshuva, the person will lose his olam haba. Another answer is, no, it has nothing to do with having a child or not. It has to do with if that person was punished by the Beis Din, which nowadays doesn't happen. If that person was executed, or even today, if that person goes through horrible suffering in this life, then that person will get olam haba. So it depends. But embarrassing somebody in public on a regular basis, across the board, you lose your olam haba. That's how bad it is. In public, it is, not in private. Comes the Gemara, and how do we know this from? Where do we learn this from? In April Gimitzah. From Tamar and Yehuda. Right? Tamar was willing to allow herself to be executed, not to embarrass Yehuda. She could have easily shown him his ring. Who it belonged to, and he would have to be. But she didn't want to embarrass him. So she just gave the ring to someone else. Tell Yehuda that if you want to know who made me pregnant, who impregnated me, it's the person who owns this. That person doesn't know it belongs to Yehuda. So Yehuda will not be embarrassed, but he will realize the truth, and that's what happened. So there we learn the story. Now, is one obligated to do so? Is this real? Are you really obligated to give your life away like Tamar did? Or is it just a gesture of chassidus? So some say, Tosfos, it's mamash an obligation. It's like Ritzicha, just like murder. Wow. Many others say no. The Gemara doesn't say chayav. It says noach. It's pleasing. It's okay. You're allowed to give your life away. It's so bad to embarrass a person that you have the right to give your life away. Normally, you don't have the right to give. You have the right to give your life away. Here, you are allowed to. You have a permit to give your life away, but not that you have to. There's no chiyuv. So we have a dispute amongst the early stages, the Rishonim, like Rashi, those ages, whether you're obligated, like Tamar, or not. And even though you're not obligated, if you want, you can. And Tamar did. Now, I'm asking another question. How did Tamar know this? We know from her. How did she know? There's no place in the Chumash. She's the only source. How did she know? $1 million question. Where did Tamar know? The answer is she had a great-grandfather called Shem. Shem must have, Shem was a holy man. He told her he must have taught her a lot. She knew it through her ancestry. That's one answer. Or she was such a special person, a holy person, that it was just it was a feeling, it was intuition. She couldn't explain. She felt it was the right thing, and she was right. So to special people, Tamar was a tzaddikus. Because she was a tzaddikus, God allowed her to do what was right.
Who is Tamar?
Tamar is Yehuda's daughter-in-law. Tamar. Yehuda had two sons. Yehuda had two sons, Er and Onan, and both of them not want to have children from Tamar. They violated the rules of spilling, and they were executed by God. And then Tamar was left alone. So she lost two husbands, and Yehuda was afraid to wait for her, Shelah, the third, to marry her because he felt that Tamar is dangerous. Two of her husbands died because of her. I don't want her to marry anyone.
Mhm.
So he hesitated, he delayed. In the meantime, she wanted to have relations with Yehuda, who was allowed to marry her. The whole story, how? Called levirate marriage, even though in those days it was different than the way today. Today would be a brother, but not a father-in-law. But Yehuda did not know it was her, was not willing. She wanted to have relations with him, knowing that through that intimacy there would be Mashiach would be. She had a foresight. So that's the story. Anyways, what we see from here that how important it is not to hurt a person's feelings. Now, here's the question. This idea of not hurting anyone, harassing, does it apply to non-Jews? Does it apply to all Jews? We'll see. No. It doesn't apply to non-Jews, by the way. It doesn't even apply, according to some Jewish people. Now, there are different opinions. The most strict opinion, the most real radical opinion is, as long as that person is violating Torah on a regular basis, even though the person might be religious, but there's one rule thing that the person always does wrong. It doesn't keep certain laws of, whether it's kashrus laws, whether it's Shabbos laws, whatever it is, that person is disqualified from this prohibition. And how do we know that? Because we learned earlier, you're not allowed to tell about tshuva. I remember what you did a few years ago when you were eating, that cheeseburger, remember? Or I remember what you did on Shabbos, where you went last Friday night. I remember, you're not allowed to do that. But what happened to the person? It says only about tshuva you're not allowed to. But the person didn't do tshuva, the person is sinning, seems like you are allowed to. For the sake, not for just of hurting that person, for the sake of maybe arousing that person into doing tshuva. So if a person is sinning, and you embarrass that person, which will make that person feel very guilty of his sins or her sins, and that might arouse the person to tshuva, then it's okay. You're allowed to harass someone, which will motivate the person to change their ways. That you're allowed to do. Some say no, it doesn't apply to every Jew who's not religious. It applies only to a Jew who's a heretic or a idol worshiper or who's shmad. That Jew is like a non-Jew, then you are allowed to. But not every single, I don't know what the halacha is, not every single Jew is okay to harass, even if you have a good motive behind it. Only a Jew who's considered like a non-Jew, like it acts like a non-Jew. He gives up everything, even though the Jew knows about Yiddishkeit, was brought up from or whatever, and understands it, and yet abandons it and laughs at it. this goes through Shmad or is an idol worshiper, that Jew is excluded from this prohibition. You're allowed to even harass that person and it also does not apply to a non-Jew. That's where we're up to in the Gemara, actually. So this is really bad. Why should we make this copy so small? How should I do this? Okay, let's you see the first page, very first page on the right side, bottom half of the right side on the top, not the notes, above the notes. The Gemara analyzes the verse that forbids verbal wronging. Amorav Chinona Bereda Rav Idi, or Chanina or Chinona, the son of Rav Idi said, "My dichsev, what is the meaning of the words below tonu ish et amito?" Like in Spanish, you say amigo. Could be the Spanish word came from the Hebrew word amito, one man against his friend. What's called a friend? A Jew. But some say not every Jew, only a Jew who is amito, like amito means he's like with you. Amito is spelled ayin mem yud tav vav. Amito means your fellow friend. How do we translate fellow friend? Am te'itcha b'torah u'mitzvot. Someone who's with you with Torah mitzvos. Now, does that mean someone who's obligated, like as opposed to a non-Jew? Or does it mean someone who fulfills mitzvot, who's religious, as opposed to someone who's not religious? So there's a dispute. Are we excluding not only non-Jews or complete heretics, or are we or even excluding Jews who are not fully religious and know better? Not the Jew who doesn't know better. Okay. Turn to the next page. Let's make the copy so small. Top of the next page. Amarav. Olam yehi adam zahir bo'onas ishto. Oh, this is all the mention here. I shouldn't be teaching this for girls because this is what all husbands, all Hassanim should hear. A person should be very careful to make believe. Just don't remember this week so well. A person should always be wary of verbally wronging his wife. For since her tears come easily, she cries quickly. Women are much faster to cry than men. The punishment for wronging her is nearby. Hashem will very soon punish anybody who harasses, chastises his wife for no reason at all. Then the Gemara says, Amar Rabbi Lozer. Can you see it? It's so small. I mean, sorry for this. I don't know why she made this copy so small. It came from a much larger word. I don't know how she made it small. Amar Rabbi Lozer. Rabbi Lozer said, Miyon shenecharav Beit HaMikdash. From the day the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed, Ninalu Sha'arei Tfilah. The heavenly gates of prayer were locked, and our prayers are not answered as readily as before. And he brings a pasuk, Shenema Gam Ki Ezak Va'ashaveya Sotam Tfilasi. This is a pasuk in Lamentations, in Eichel, what we say on Tisha B'Av. What does it say there? Even when I scream after the Churban, Va'ashaveya, I plead, please help me. Satam. Tagur. Atfilah Shali. HaKadosh Baruch Hu Kilo Shemea. Lo Tel Shmoa. Even though all the gates are closed, Sha'arei D'ma'ot Lo Ninalu. The heavenly gates of tears have not been locked. Shenemar Shema Tfilati Hashem V'Shabati Ha'azina El Dimati Al Techarash. It states, hear my prayers, hear my cries, you will not be deaf. So hearing, Hashem might hear your cries, but you know when he'll listen and respond? If there are tears. Dema'ot. El demati. Dema'ot. Al techarash. Don't be quiet. It means that there's a guarantee that Hashem will not be silent. He will respond positively to your tears. Having mentioned the severity of wronging one's wife, the Gemara digresses to explain proper husband-wife relationship. Now listen to this. But Amarav, this sounds really, whoa. Doesn't sound right. But I'll still explain. Whoever is led by his wife's advice, no fail began it falls into Gehenna. Hey, Gemara, you have yeah. You're going like, this is a, first you say, keep your wife well, make sure she doesn't cry. Whoever listens to his wife goes to Gehenna. Mother. So if you look into the Art Scroll 14, Literally, whoever follows the advice of his wife, the Gemara refers to someone who relies on his wife's judgment without questioning. Of course you can listen to her. But some people just do it discriminate. Whatever you say, I will listen because you're my wife. That's to be very dangerous. But sometimes they can mislead in a very, very bad way. What it means to say is that you just listen without using your rational, without using your intellect, just believing and trusting everything she says. If halacha l'moshe Sinai is God given, that can be dangerous. We have a story in the Tanakh with Izebel. She was the worst woman probably in history, the worst Jewish woman in history. Not counting Vashti because Vashti wasn't Jewish. Izebel was a horrible, horrible individual. Her husband was quite as bad but she made him even worse. Achav was an idolater, and he brought paganism into Jewish people. The whole story in Tanakh where he wanted to buy something from someone, that person knew who Achav is and refused to sell him anything with a vineyard, and he got very depressed, and his wife said, "Don't worry about it. I'll get you the vineyard." What did she do? She those days it was understood when you have a whole gathering of people, people gather, and there's a person who's going to be the guinea pig, who's going to be the person that when people are going to look at and judge very not favorably. Put Novos. Novos was the person that refused to sell. Novos didn't want to sell his vineyard to Achav, and Achav got very depressed, and his wife told him. Long story short, she got him killed. Tell her husband, "He's dead now. Now you can take his property." Boy, did Hashem not like that. Punished her for that. Punished him. Punished her. He actually did some kind of tshuva. He heard that his life is going to end in a very, very horrible way. He's going to have an horrific death. He cried, and Hashem delayed his punishment. But her, he was brutally murdered. So
She was Jewish.
yeah, Izebel. Yeah, was Jewish. Sure, Acha was Jewish. Acha was a scholar. He knew how to learn. And his wife was a real mechashefa, a real witch. That's the example. We don't have too many of those in Tanakh. She was one of them. We have a lot of great righteous women in Tanakh. She was one example of a horrible woman. Izebel. Zevel, Mother Zevel. Her name sounds like garbage. Zevel's garbage.
Yeah.
Okay. Kenema Raklo Hayaka Achav. There was nobody as bad as Achav and his wife, the Gomer, who was incited by Izebel, his wife. Amalera Papala Abaye. How could you say that? I thought it's good to listen to your wife. The popular saying, and things where everyone agrees with this, Itzcha Gutza, if your wife is short, doesn't only mean short in size, but short doesn't have your knowledge. Don't put her down, but just because she's not as educated as you are. Bend over and whisper to her ear, whisper to her. In other words, seek her counsel and follow it. You'll get the best advice if you speak to your wife. So, how do you explain this? When should you listen to, when should you not listen to her? This apparently contradicts Rav's statement. No kasha. Gemara answers a lo en baya. The talui. Lo kasha. This is not a difficulty. This statement of Rav refers to worldly affairs in which one should not be led by his wife's advice. If it comes to things that have nothing to do with household issues, but worldly things that are unrelated to household issues, what's going on in the world, and she gives him advice, travel here, travel there, maybe it's good for you, don't listen to her. If it's miwi the besa, if it's household issues about how the house should look, where to move, where to live, and things that are related to her job of being akereta bayit, listen to her. Okay, footnote 17. The Gemara is teaching whose advice should predominate when different types of questions confront the family. The husband should not automatically defer to his wife on worldly matters because she will lead him down the wrong path. She has a different understanding of worldly matters than he does. But a man should regularly defer to his wife on household matters because her judgment is better than his in this area. And following her advice on these matters will bring peace to the home. Okay. That's one answer. Another answer to reconciliate these two opposite statements about taking advice from your wife is as follows. Lishna Acharina, a different version of the whole discussion here. Not that it depends with its household matters or worldly matters. No, all matters that are not related to Yiddishkeit listen to her, whether it's household or whether it's not household. Only if it's matters of Torah, that's the husband should listen. You listen to your wife if she says something well, but don't take her advice when you're not sure. Think through it, because that's not her field to know matters of Torah mitzvah. Rather, the statement of Rav refers to heavenly religious matters. When Rav says, "Don't listen to your wife's advice," when it comes to Torah matters, in which one should not be led by his wife's advice. Whereas the popular saying that everyone says, "Listen to your wife," refers to mundane matters in which one should be led by his wife's advice because that's her expertise. A husband has more extensive Torah knowledge usually than his wife, but there are exceptions to this rule, of course, then things are different, which puts him in a better position to make judgments about religious matters involving the family. Now, in terms of what type of chinuch the child should have, there you got to be careful, because the husband usually has a deeper understanding of the chinuch of yeshiva more than his wife does. So it depends what we're talking about. Again, even when you don't listen to your wife, it doesn't mean that whatever she says, go the opposite. It means don't just listen to her, without discriminating. Just anything she says is automatically accepted. That you got to be careful. Rav Chisda, let's go a little further. The Gemara returns to its discussion about the severity of wronging another person. Kol hashorim ninalim chutz mishari ona. All heavenly gates of prayer are locked, except the gates for wrongful treatment. And the Gemara quotes the pasuk in Tanakh, which I'm going to skip this piece. It's a pasuk in Tanakh. It's a little complicated, so I'll skip this piece. Amar Rabbi Lozer. Let's look at the next paragraph. Hakol nifra midei shaliach. All sins are punished through an intermediary of God. Chutz me'ona'ah, except for wrongful treatment, which is punished by God Himself. And he brings that same pasuk. Ubiyado anach. And Hashem has like a plumb line, which exactly measures. He's really going to be on your case. Anach means a plumb line. You know what a plumb line is? It's you want to measure it, make sure the wall of your house is not crooked. So you have a rope and a piece of lead on the bottom of the rope, which would hold the rope exactly straight. And if you see that the wall of the house is touching the rope, that means your wall is not straight. So this is the word is anach. Anach sounds like a plumb line of lead, but anach also sounds like ona'ah. So when will Hashem really be exacting justice and not taking any kind of excuses? If it's ona'ah, if the sin that you're dealt with is a sin of harassing other people. Okay. Amar Rabbi Bo says, let's finish with this last piece. Gimel, there are 3 offenses for which the curtain does not close. Ona'ah, wronging, Hashem will right away punish. Robbery, and idol worship. Turn to the next page. Ona'ah, wronging, we already quoted the pasuk of Yado Anach. Hashem has his plumb line, meaning of justice. Gezel, where do we know that when it comes to theft, Hashem is not going to take it lightly? Chamas v'shod yishama ba al pnei al panai tamid. As it is written, plunder and spoil is heard continuously. And Avodah Zarah, concerning idol worship, it says, Ha'am hamachisamosi al panai tamid. Idolatry, as it's written, people that provoke me to anger continuously to my face, I will punish them, and it indicates immediately. Now the Gemara says, good advice for having peace, a peaceful marriage. Because usually what causes the argument, what causes problems is a lack of parnasa. When they're suffering, when there's no parnasa, she blames him, he blames her, and it becomes a whole fight. So the Gemara says we want to be very careful to make sure that you have food on the table. Because most marriage, lack of shalom bayis emerges from a lack of food, a lack of parnasa. Okay, we'll stop here. The Gemara continues. It's going to go on. There's got a lot of interesting stories here coming up. Goes on for another whole page. We'll stop here and have a wonderful Shabbos. If you're interested, today's Kriyas HaTorah, today's Shabbos, the Torah reading is the one for anyone who reads the Torah, I do, is one of the most difficult parshiyot to read. Very, very complex. If you know how to read, the musical sound, it's very, very confusing, very, very difficult. So Huh? Good luck, yeah.
Waiting for it.
Yeah. Why are you watching me so small? Really weird.
I think I think she can get rid of the border. Like I was looking at the page and I was like,
I don't know why. I thought it's never happened. Yeah. What? Oh, yeah. Sure. What are you doing? Thomas? Rabbi where? By Pillow. I know that rabbi. I like him also.
I got mine out.
Got out?
I had no, sometimes Shane and I hop around. Find like a neutral every week. Yeah.
Is it quiet? Is it quiet during the raining, when we davening or raining? Oh, really? Unusual. If, up to the little, from 70, oh, wow. I used to daven when the Rebbe davened there. I used to, I mean, I davened, the shul I davened is a shul where the Rebbe, actually said to Rabbi Baumgarten, it's called Baumgarten Shul, it used to be, Rabbi Baumgarten was the Rebbe, was his shul, huh? Yes. And he's the one, he wanted to go down in 770, and the Rebbe wanted him to not to make a, no, he should daven in his own shul. And he didn't want to listen. He was like, I want to daven with the Rebbe. The Rebbe said, if you don't daven where you're supposed to, I'll have to come to your shul. So the Rebbe actually, it's the only shul in Crown Heights where the Rebbe actually said, I'll come if you don't listen to me.
I had up in the money buttons.
Yeah, I'm very weak. Yeah. You know her? Huh? Yeah, it's quiet.
Yeah.
Oh, no, right. It's
I think she likes that.
yeah, it's quiet. You can think when you can not overload a crowd. It's not a very crowded place. It's yeah, you daven properly. Come every week you want. I'm not the boss of the shul. So. There's no limit. You want to come.
Good job.
No. He's saying that it's a small shul, the one who. And the river told him to make them of it, and they told the river staff to make them a shul.
Yeah.
but
No,
then
I think he had his own show. When he came to 770, the other said, why aren't you at your own show? Maybe that makes the other story. He's like, why aren't you at your show? Oh, I want to be by the Rebbe. And he said, okay, next time you're gonna come, let me know. And all the Rebbe go to your show. Like, I understood it means like, you need, some
Like,
people
it's
don't
not
wanna go to
like a